Unity is sponsoring this video, and today we are going to see this lightning strike. Shockingly, lightning strikes are used in many games, and they are electrifying the way we play, by giving us energy and power. Sorry, I had to use these words, it's lightning, you know? You know what else is giving us energy and power to develop games? The Unity Assets Store. I actually had the pleasure to select which assets are going to be on sale in the Unity Assets Store, along with other awesome creators. We chose assets to be on sale from the 26th July through August 17th. And we made sure to include assets that are useful for game development, and that we here at Golden Bug Studios use to develop Rabbit's Tales. Assets like Feel, Easy Save, A-Star Pathfinding, and I made sure to actually create an ultra mega pack where I include most of my tutorial assets, which is going to be on sale. So make sure to use the link below. The sale is going live tomorrow, 26th of July until 17th of August. And without further ado, let's jump right into this. So here's what we have. If I press play and pause this and then turn on wireframe, you will notice that we have a mesh and then a texture and a few other textures going on. But the core of the effect is essentially a zigzag mesh with a lightning texture and then a very simple shader. So let's get started by creating a visual effect graph. You can also follow this with the particle system. I actually made a video comparing both when it comes to creating effects, and I'm sure it will help you convert this to particle system perhaps. Once we have the VFX graph, we can rename it and then drag and drop it to the scene and press the edit button to open VFX graph. Essentially, this doesn't need to be constantly spawning particles, we only need one, so we can remove this block here on the spawn section and replace it with a single burst, with 1 for the count. It also doesn't need to move, and lifetime can be constant. We can turn off random. 1 second for now, let's see how it goes. And down here, well, as you have seen, we actually need a mesh here. Replace it with the output particle mesh. We can already create a set size block and say it's 1. And then rename it to lightning bright. This is going to receive our texture and our mesh and the shader. For the texture I'm gonna use Krita, or if you guys want to create really awesome texture you can use Material Maker. I'm gonna make a video about it soon, by the way. This is what I have used for this course, for example, to create awesome textures. That's why this course is going so well and doing so well. As a matter of fact, I actually used for the lightning here. But I'm gonna explain you how Material Maker works in one of the next videos, don't worry. For this, now we can use Krita. It's a very basic texture. New file, 2048 by 2048 pixels. Make sure the background color is black and then you can press create. On this empty layer, we are going to select the brush tool, and up here you can select the airbrush soft. Make sure the color is white, opacity at 100%, and the brush size at around 100 pixels. If you press Shift W, you turn on wrap mode, which is awesome to create seamless textures. In one stroke, I'm gonna do a diagonal line, and then a zigzag down, a little bit up, down again, and something like this. In 2 or 3 areas, I'm gonna thicken this, make it thicker. Now I'm gonna pick the erase tool up here, with an opacity of around 30%, remove a little bit here and there, just like this, so it doesn't become too predominantly white. And that's it. I'm gonna create a new layer, layer 2, and I'm gonna drag it below layer 1. And with the brush tool selected, I'm gonna turn off the erase tool, decrease the opacity to around 20, and increase the size to around 250 pixels. And now I'm gonna create a glow. A handmade glow, very quick, something like this. If you turn on wrap mode with Shift W, this is what you will have, 2 textures. One is the core of the lightning, the other is the glow. And that's it. You can hide the black background, hide layer 2, export layer 1 as a PNG directly to your project, and then export layer 2 as a PNG without the black background as well to your project. The first one is going to be named Lightning Strike 01. This second one is going to be named Lightning Strike 01 underscore blur. It's going to be a blur. Here we go. We have two textures right now in Unity, and the main texture is going to be the one we just created. Lightning Strike 01 underscore tutorial in my case. And if I press play, yeah, the capsule has the texture. Well, now we are missing this mesh, this 3D object. It seems complicated, but it's actually super simple. I'm going to show you a cool trick. So in Blender, I'm going to select everything with A and then press delete, a clean scene, and with Shift A I'm going to go to curves and create a Bezier curve. I'm going to press R and then Y to rotate it only in the Y 90 degrees, so it faces up like this. And with G, lock it in the Z axis, press Z and push a value of 1 up. Exactly like this. Tab to enter in edit mode. I'm going to select this vertex right here and push it a little bit up, like a value of 2 more or less. And now I'm going to select these two vertices, press W and choose subdivide to create another point. And now it's all a matter of creating a zigzag, something that looks like lightning. I'm adding a new vertex by selecting two ones and then with W subdivide it, push a little bit to the right and then to the left. On this panel right here of the Bezier curve, on the geometry section, I'm gonna increase the extrude to a value of 0.7, 0.6, so we have this. And then you can adjust this a little bit as you wish. What's important is that the resolution preview is a little bit too high. I'm gonna decrease it to 4, 5 or 6 are good values, by the way. And then you can still adjust it however you want. I'm gonna twist it a little bit to the sides, rotate it with R in the Z axis. And now the next step is to convert this curve to a mesh. Get out of edit mode with tab and press Alt C and select convert to mesh, or go up here to object and convert to mesh. Once you have done it, you will get this mesh. Our next step is to take care of the UVs. By dragging a new window and up here select UV editor, I'm gonna turn on UV sync selection and select these two top vertices right here, and I'm gonna make sure that they are on the left and not on the right like they are right now, and rotate it with R 180 degrees, and then press enter, just like this. Our next step is to make it thicker at the top and thinner at the bottom. I'm gonna select these two vertices in edit mode and turn on proportional editing and press S to scale this up. You can increase the influence by scrolling up or down. I'm gonna make it thicker at the top and I'm gonna select this bottom vertex, shrink it with S, scale it down, still with proportional editing on, and that's it. That's pretty much it, guys. You can now rename this to Lightning Strike Plane. Press Ctrl A to apply rotation and scale. Oh, quick tip, the pivot must be down here, so in edit mode you can select these two, Shift S, selection to cursor, get out of edit mode with tab and press Shift Ctrl Alt C and choose origin to 3D cursor, or go up here to object and set origin to 3D cursor. This way it will be like this, the pivot at the bottom. That's about it. Let's export this as an FBX directly to our project. You can rename it to Lightning Strike Plane, for example. Make sure selected objects is turned on and press export. In Unity now, in your project, you will have this 3D model, and we can say that the scale factor is 100. So it matches with Unity units. Press apply, and now we can replace this capsule on VFX Graph with the plane we just created. Here we go. Ah, nice. We can see how it's looking. It's taking a nap right now, but instead of laying down, we want to rotate it. So up here, initialize particle, I'm going to use the set angle and say the X is -90. Here we go. We only see one face. If we select the output particle mesh, in the inspector we can say the cull mode is off. And here we go, we can see both sides. Great. So a few tips right now. If your mesh is too much low poly, you can enter in edit mode and with Ctrl R create an edge loop right in the middle and then export it and replace the existing one. It will look a little bit better. Another thing you can do is go back to Krita, and I'm going to create a group for these two layers with Ctrl G. Enter in wrap mode with Shift W, and I'm going to make them thicker. They were a little bit too thin. With Ctrl T. Then I'm going to export one by one, again without the black background, by the way. Alright, back to Unity. It looks a little bit better. Now we are going to need another output particle mesh for the blur. I'm going to rename this lightning blur and then assign the blur texture we created earlier, just like this. What we also need to make sure is that the blur is rendered before the bright one. We can do it by selecting VFX Graph in our folder, and in the output render order we can drag the blur up here. Alright, so let's take care of the shader, which is actually just a dissolve shader with the alpha clip. It's very simple, you will see. Right click on the folder, create shader graph. You can actually choose VFX shader graph instead of unlit shader graph. Dissolve shader underscore tutorial, open it up, and on the active targets now I'm going to switch to visual effect and turn on alpha clipping. Let's create the basic setup, which is a color, texture 2D for the main text, the color in HDR mode, white. Let's drag both of these properties, and the main text, so it's going to be sampled, and then multiply it with the color. We can connect this to the base color, and if we split this multiply, we can use the A to connect to the alpha, so we can have transparency. And lastly, let's create a float, which is going to be a slider, the mode between 0 and 1, which means 0 is no clip and 1 is completely clipped, completely dissolved. And if we save the shader and go back to VFX Graph, you should see a shader graph option right here. If you don't see it, you can go to Edit and in Preference, in Visual Effects, turn on Experimental Operators / Blocks. You may need to refresh this, perhaps restart your Unity project. Once you see the shader graph option, now you can assign the shader graph to both of the outputs. And here's what the clip does. If I press play and pause this, if I play with the lightning bright, the clip option, here we go, as you can see it dissolves away. It looks fantastic and it's going to be useful. We can animate it with the sample curve, by the way. For the time, we can use the age over lifetime of each particle, in this case of the lightning. And for the curve, we can start with this one, and then add a key with right click more or less around 30, 0.30, and another key more or less around 0.5, 0.55. Select both keys, drag them to the 0, make sure they are flat like this, which means this will be dissolved in the beginning and throughout the end. That's what this curve will do. Dissolve in the beginning a little bit and then dissolve near the end. As you can see. Very nice. Let's take care of the color. We are actually going to use a gradient because we want this to have a very special touch. A little flicker in the beginning and then the lightning comes in very strong. You can do it with a gradient. The time is going to be also the age of a lifetime. And in this case, the gradient, we can push this key very close to the beginning and then add another key up here. This is the alpha keys up here, by the way. So one black, two whites, and another black key, which is basically transparent. And more or less at 45% another black key, and another key at 55, but with alpha at 100% at the maximum. Remove this key. Down here we have the keys for the color. Remove the first key of the color. This first key down here, we want it to be blue, and then increase the intensity to something like 5.5 or 6, and the last key it's going to be black. Like this. We are going to add another key near the beginning, where it's going to be totally black, but the first key, it's going to be a blue. If you connect this to the color, you will see that this gradient, it's very important and it will create a very interesting outcome where it blinks a little bit in the beginning and then it becomes super bright. That looks very good. We just need now to do the same for the blur. I'm going to copy this sample gradient. That's the only thing we need. We are not going to use clip in the blur. Connect it right here. create an edge over lifetime for the time, but this time the gradient, instead of a super bright blue, we want to increase the intensity to 0. And that's it. If you press play now, you will see this beautiful lightning, very nice. You can also increase the rate down here, the rate speed of this preview to 160 for example. It will look awesome. Very, very nice. So at this point you already have created the lightning, the core. From here it's just a matter of making it scroll in the shader a little bit and then adding a bunch of other textures. We are not going to see everything, but we are going to see a little. But before that, the blur could live a little longer, so I'm gonna copy this initialize particle and the update particle, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. This spawn will be responsible for both, and the lifetime now of the blur is going to be 1.2, just a tiny bit more, like this, so it stays at the end. Another trick you can easily do is press Ctrl+D on the single burst and delay it by a small value like 0.15. It will kinda blink twice, very nice. Yeah, this lightning is way too big, I'm going to decrease mine, the set size to 0.75 on the bright and on the blur, and that's about it. Alright, so for the shader, now one of the last tricks I'm gonna show you is here before the main texture. We can control the UVs, we can offset this, we can use it to scroll the texture with a tiling and offset node, and then create a vector 2 for main text offset and connect it here. You will see in a moment what this will do. Save this shader, go back to VFX Graph, and on the lightning bright only we are going to use a sample curve. Ctrl+D this one, or Ctrl+C or Ctrl+V. Open this by the way and connect this to the X. Connect the edge of our lifetime to the time of the sample curve, and what we really want to do is first delete this key. Make sure this first key is at 0.3 of time and 0 of value, and the last key we can drag it down to more or less 0.5, and the key in the middle can also go down a little bit to 0.4 and create this kind of curve. What will happen is that it will scroll the texture, the lightning, it will scroll down, creating this very nice effect when it is at its brightest point, and then it slows down. You get the idea, it's a very useful trick, and you have just made a lightning. Very simple lightning. This is the basis of the lightning, I hope it helps you. I obviously added a few more things, but it isn't that hard. For example, I have this tutorial that will certainly help you to create the impact at the bottom. Go watch, you will learn a lot and you will really improve your lightning, definitely. Or you can even be my patron and get access to the lightning project, to the whole project, and even more assets, like really a lot of assets that you can use in your games. It's a huge VFX library. Talking about patrons, I want to say thank you to each one of you that supported me last month. You keep the channel going. And as usual, a quick shout out to the top tier patrons, which are Peak, Alexander Brazy, Alvman, Ape on Fire, Aurora A, Aviat Tobali, Bachkard, Bonehead, Cat Love, Cyber Cradle, Daniel Schmidt, Deep Anchor, Yaku, Diana Simonian, Diego Marques, Duitron, Effect Yellow, El Sharif, Easy, Fang Striker, Frosty Forte, George Mickleborough, Giulio Benvenuti, Grub Lab, Guilherme Trindade, Jason Marrero, Jeff Rowe, José Salazar, Casey Miller, Leanne Holt, Letuli, Lucas Rocha, Matt Mahone, Mehmet Jakush, Mike Bell, Minazuk, Nikolai Yalnazov, Oitsk, Vanurak Rapol, Phoenix, Pradip Sen, Radioactive Bullfrog, Randomizer Ross, Revenant Games, Ranks, R. Lee, Shikakaka, Travis McCallum, Verisuta, Vichaslav, Whiplash, Will Hughes, Will Puddle, Dong Maogdong, Champion Ling, and Amand. So thank you all for your amazing support. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And that's it. I hope to see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.